Welcome back to Free Spirit Equestrian. My name is Shay, and today I'm going to talk to you about what things you should consider keeping in the barn for equine first aid kit and safety. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so as you can see here, I have my lovely pile of things that you saw just a second ago, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about each one, why I use them, and what they can be used for. Okay, let's go. Okay, so number one, you should definitely make sure you have a first aid kit in the barn for human use, because things happen and all kinds of stuff is falling out. As you can see here, this just has all the basic stuff you might need, and I keep this out and everyone knows where it is just in case you need something. So definitely have that for the humans. Another thing I keep in the barn, it's just a calming paste. It's called Total Calm and Focus. So I keep this in the barn just in case a horse came and they were like really stressed out or something was going on. And this might just help them calm down a little bit. It could prevent them from getting ulcers. Might just let them have like a better experience. This isn't a sedative or anything like that. It's just a natural calming paste. And I just keep this on hand for if there's any kind of situation that a horse may need it. Okay, you definitely want bandaging and vet wrap. So vet wrap is very important. Some bandaging material. I also have the really big thick cotton roll, but that's in the house. So you want to have those on hand too. You never know when a horse can get injured or if something happens. You want to make sure that you have these materials accessible to you so that you can wrap that injury right away. And with that being said, you definitely want duct tape. Duct tape, Duct tape comes in handy for many different things. Wrapping injuries, or if you have an abscess and you're wrapping that, which by the way, you can check that video out. It is linked in the description, how to pack and wrap an abscess if you ever are in that situation. Moral of the story, keep this on hand. It also is really helpful for fixing things around the farm if you can't get to it right away. Wound ointment. So horses get hurt and it can be randomly, and sometimes you want to prevent these wounds from getting infected. So I will use a little bit more of a natural approach sometimes. So I'll use raw honey or Manuka honey. This has a lot of healing proponents and it's really wonderful and it's really, really awesome on wounds. So I definitely use this. I also have a wound ointment by Equiderma. This works really great too. If you saw my one YouTube short with Bagheera hurting her eye recently, or just around her eye, she's totally fine. But I used this on her and it helped to keep the wound from getting infected and it healed it a lot quicker. So these are the two wound ointments that I prefer to use. And I definitely think it's important to have these on hand for first aid purposes. Another thing that I keep on hand is Desitin. Desitin is essentially zinc oxide, and this comes in handy, especially in the summertime. If the horses get a sunburn or something like that, this is really great to put on them. It prevents the sun from burning their skin, and it's essentially like a super sunscreen. I've also used this if I don't really want something to get wet and I want it to stay dry. It really, really helps that. And it also helps to kind of dry out some wounds sometimes. So I really do prefer Desitin in some situations. And with that being said, I also make sure I keep Vaseline on hand. Again, it keeps moisture out if I want it to stay dry. And this is really good, like if a horse is prone to scratches, I will put this on their heel and it keeps them greasy but keeps the moisture out. So really, really like these two as well. Keep them in the barn. Okay, shampoo. So obviously we have like all kinds of different shampoos in general, but in reference to first aid, you want an antibacterial and an antifungal shampoo on hand. This will help with anything like ring rot, scratches, all kinds of stuff. Definitely need this on hand. Horses can get some funky stuff on their skin and on their coat, so I keep this on hand. Also, you want an antiseptic shampoo. This is really important if you're cleaning out a cut or wound, or they have anything like that going on. This just gets it really clean and further helps to prevent infection. So I have both kinds of shampoos on hand. Another thing that I keep on hand in the barn, and I'm sorry everything is so dirty, but they're in the barn, is IBH spray. So this is essentially a hypersensitivity insect bite spray. It helps to reduce the inflammation on the bite. And things happen, you know, in the summer, there's all kinds of mosquitoes, bugs, flies, all that stuff. And sometimes it happens. So I definitely keep this on hand if one of the horses were to have a flare up due to an insect bite. Another thing I keep in the barn is liniment. You never know if the horse has an injury, you may need to use liniment and wrap it up, or even just after an exercise, or if you've had like a little bit of a longer exercise that's more strenuous, this is definitely helpful, and it can just give the horse some relief. So it's not the end all fix all, but I think it's definitely helpful when it comes to some situations with the horses. Okay, abscesses again. So an Epsom salt pack. So this is really good. I also make my own, which I talk about in that video I was speaking about before. But this is really great because it's already made, and then you can just put it into the packing and wrap that abscess up, and it's really, really helpful. So basically, and you can use this for other things as well, but it's essentially for abscesses. So like this a lot. Apple cider vinegar. I use this for my soaking purposes if I'm trying to draw out any infection, or for cleaning. It's also an antiseptic. And the reason I like apple cider vinegar is because it kills the bad bacteria but keeps the good bacteria. So this is huge for me, and I know everyone loves apple cider vinegar, so it's great in the barn too. Hydrogen peroxide, another really good thing to have. So of course it's an antiseptic. You can clean out some wounds with it as well. So definitely good to just have this on hand, very strong. Bute, you wanna make sure that you have bute in your barn and Banamine. You never know what situation might arise. So my Banamine's in the house, but I do have that. Banamine might be given if your horse is seeming like they're gonna colic, or they're having some gastro issues or something like that, and you speak to your veterinarian. Maybe that's something you could give them and it could save their life. But again, you want to consult with your veterinarian on all these situations and not just use these on a regular basis, because horses are sensitive and we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing in the correct situation. But I'll keep you on hand if it's going to give the horse some relief or temporary relief until we can do something further, or until the vet arrives under their discretion. This is something you definitely want to keep on hand, okay? So really important. Talking about the abscesses again, I always keep little diapers on hand if I have to wrap a hoof for whatever reason, not just for abscesses, but maybe they have like a hoof injury. These are really, really helpful. It's kind of like a little built-in pad. So baby diapers. Syringes, you can't have enough of these as an equestrian. All kinds of different situations. You might have to crush up pills, which by the way, a pill crusher is another really great thing to have. And mix it up in the syringe, and applesauce too. You want that in case you need to mix it in with the meds, and then you can administer it with a syringe. But there's all different kinds of situations where you might use a syringe. So I definitely have a bunch of these. I use them in endurance, hardcore, with giving electrolytes and all kinds of different things, which by the way, I think electrolytes is another thing you might want to have on hand as well. If your horse got really sweaty, even just from running out in the field, might be a good idea to give them some electrolytes. Keep that in mind. Actually, let me grab my electrolytes to show you which ones I like to use. So I like summer games. Again, I do some endurance and I do a ton of trail riding. Long mileage, horses get sweaty, they need the replacement. So I like summer games, really great electrolytes. Also just something you should just have on hand, and it could be first aid in some situations if you want to consider that. Stethoscope. A stethoscope is a really important thing to have in the barn. This can come in handy if you're trying to check your horse's heart rate and it's easier to listen to, or gut sounds. Again, in endurance, I use this a lot because I'm constantly having to monitor my horse's heart rate, make sure they're doing okay and that they're meeting the criteria not only for their health, but for the race as well. And I want to make sure I can hear all gut sounds in all 4 quadrants of the horse, because that's something that is scored as well. But in regards to first aid, this is going to come in handy and aid you in a situation where you might have to do that and the horse's life is dependent on it. So really good thing to have in the barn as well. Scissors, of course you want scissors in the barn, and a knife. You never know what situation you might be in, so keep those 2 things on hand. Okay, horse lovers, I really hope you enjoyed this video and that you found it helpful. I want to make sure that you and your horse stay safe at all times. So these are some of the awesome items that you can keep in your barn that could save your horse's life. Thanks, horse lovers. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe.